Hello there. Today I am joined with Rethink Retail's own Kirat Anand. Kirat served as head of general merchandising, pricing, promotion, and markdown strategy at Walmart. He now serves as chief community officer at Rethink Retail. Today we'll be taking a deep dive into the ways that grocery retailers and CPG brands can leverage data. Specifically, considering Kirat's experience, we'll take a deep dive into data-driven pricing strategies. So, hi, Kirat.
Hey Morgan, thanks for having me.
Of course, it's great to have you. I know, in addition to the many advisory board roles that you hold, you previously held positions and responsibilities of creating and executing competitive pricing and promotions at Walmart. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience putting data to work in retail settings?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. During my time at Walmart, it was fascinating to observe what America was purchasing and the consumer purchasing patterns, coupled with their motivations and behaviors. There's only one retailer serving approximately a quarter of a billion Americans each week. And pricing products across 4,700 stores across the country gives you a very unique lens into the consumer habits, behaviors, channel preferences. And to your point, analyzing that vast amount of data, we were very fortunate to have a great data science team. And analyzing that vast amount of data, we could create trends or identify trends, put together actionable insights, which would help my pricing team, tailor pricing strategies, markdown strategies, promo cadences, ultimately serving our customer and the merchant teams. It's interesting in the retail and the grocery environment, you're pulling lots of different data to work essentially, and you're doing it to stay ahead of the competition, to be ahead of the rapidly evolving market, but ultimately you're doing it to serve your customer and win their trust, and a lot of that we did at Walmart as well.
Speaking specifically to grocery, what are some of the most meaningful ways that grocers can leverage data like this and technology to improve their business and the overall customer experience?
It's I think the primary objective for all grocers, retailers should be revolving around enhancing that customer experience, that customer satisfaction. And the way I've always viewed data, technology, or today AI, I view them as more tools to empower the grocers to navigate the consumable industry so they could fortify their offering and deliver a more authentic experience. Among the leading technologies and data differentiators, I feel are automation, personalization, predictive analytics, real time store monitoring, and obviously price optimization, which has a special place in my heart. Um, I could dive in deeper into each of those if you'd like.
Perfect. Let's start with automation.
Yeah, great place to start. Automation. Leveraging technology to automate tasks like inventory management, order fulfillment, customer service. All of these lightens the load on your associates, which enables them to focus on customer facing activities. This in turn ensures personalized assistance and seamless shopping experiences, which overall contribute to the customer satisfaction. The next thing I think I mentioned was personalization. By gathering data and understanding your customer's purchasing history, preferences, behaviors, demographics, grocers now can curate a really personalized shopping experience, and that could lead to targeted product recommendations, personalized coupons, and loyalty programs, all of which play an essential role in catering to your customer and increasing the customer retention and again customer satisfaction. The third thing was predictive analytics. Now, predictive analytics is something that's very encompassing, but utilizing data and analyzing sales patterns and predicting customer demands allows grocers to optimize their inventory levels, avoid stockouts, avoid over purchasing, which overall makes the grocer more efficient, reduces waste, it increases their sustainability score, ensures you have the right products at the right time for your customer, which lead to higher sales and eventually better customer satisfaction. I think I mentioned real-time store monitoring. And through IoT devices, cameras, temperature controls, sensors, grocers today can monitor various aspects of the store level in real time, which is very exciting. This includes not only tracking customers, but more so tracking, think about it, you can track temperatures at different areas for energy efficiency, for inventory levels. You can understand humidity, which is very important in certain areas like produce or meat. You can even detect equipment from maybe failing before it happens, so preventative measures take place. You know, the proactive management experience, the operational efficiencies, the reduction of waste, again, improves your sustainable scores, your shopping experience, and overall, again, it boosts your customer satisfaction. And we're not going to forget number five, price optimization. Grocers now can optimize their strategies, something we did at Walmart. You use deep learning, elasticity based pricing models, or basic rule models. But at the end of the day, this helps because you're tracking your competitors, you're analyzing your customer behavior, you're collaborating with suppliers, you're adjusting prices for not only maximum profit, but also maintaining the competitive edge. So you're serving your customer and providing them with the right price at the right time. AI pricing doesn't necessarily, I used to always say AI pricing includes and encompasses not only the initial price, the shelf price, the markdown price, and also all of this reduces the reliance on heavy markdowns because it ensures the customer gets the right price at the right time. Yeah, ESLs are becoming more and more frequent, and there are a bunch of reasons for them. And I think grocers, retailers overall embracing the digital transformation for the store offers several compelling advantages. Um, Pricing, we talked about it, and that's at the forefront. The automation and the real-time updating of pricing and promotion is very important. Um, but ESL also provides additional information to the customer. You can create different marketing opportunities within ESLs. You can provide details regarding whether if it's grocers nutritional data, whether it's regular retailer, you can provide product reviews. You can facilitate so many more informed decisions, replicating the online experience offline. Um, Another advantage of ESL is enabling the creation and targeting of in-store marketing. So to make sure that you're delivering the right message at the right time. Um, Additionally, you increase your sustainability score. And I've spoken about sustainability a few times because it's very authentic to me and to a lot of consumers. And today, retailers, grocers are aligning with that. And they're aligning with their purpose and their values with sustainability. And ESLs increase your sustainability score because you're optimizing for the inventory levels, and you're reducing the burden of printing manual paper tags and prices and changing them, which eventually reduce the burden on your associates in store.
Right.
Over time, we've seen the cost of the ESLs go down, both purchasing and maintaining them. So we should see more and more of them start to come up. Um, I don't have the penetration figures of ESL in grocers off the top of my head, but I'd like to see more ESLs in the grocers, just like we're seeing self-checkout, more and more self-checkout. And at the end of the day, all these technologies and tools are just streamlining the operations, reducing the friction, and making the in-store experience better for the customer.
Very good. Yeah, I kind of threw that one on you, but great answer. Are grocers and CPG brands, are they benefiting from data transparency and collective analysis of data? Where are they now, and kind of how do you see that working for maximum benefit for both?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, data transparency, shared insights, collective analysis, I mean, they offer significant benefits to grocers and brands or even other suppliers and vendors. During my time at Walmart, um, the team at Walmart launched Walmart Data Ventures, excuse me. So Luminate is the platform, and it's the proprietary data and analytics dashboard with insights that Walmart would sell as a subscription to its CPG brands and other suppliers. Today, I believe about 20% of the brands currently selling at Walmart subscribe to the service. So while this is a great partnership between the two, grocers and CPG brands, it's also an opportunity to add another revenue stream. But Walmart's been very careful, just like a lot of other retailers and grocers, to adhere to a lot of the data governance, the consumer privacy regulations. So Illuminate protects the consumer, but still provides targeted sales data by channel, by assortment. So CPG and other vendors can understand um, their what metrics, what drivers are really driving purchasing behavior. Um, the reports and analytics generated, I know through Luminate, were very very powerful. I mean, gives you the extent down to different packaging and different packs. Private label, and really benefit the CPG brands, creating that transparency and reporting for them for future product development, for future packaging development, for initial pricing, for direct to consumer marketing for their own channels, and eventually supply chain optimization.
How will technology impact CPG and grocery relationships in the next 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, it's a great question. If I had the crystal ball, I would go and buy that technology today. But having said that, look, technology is constantly evolving, and the advancements in the next 1 to 2 years are going to have tremendous impact on the relationship between the brands and grocers. Three ways that I think the relationship can be enhanced in the coming years is maybe through what we just talked about, data transparency and sharing of that collective insights and analytics, personalization, which was one of the technologies that I thought, and sustainability, which I mentioned was very important to not only me and consumers and grocers across the board. I think these three areas, and happy to dive into each of them if you want, will really develop in the next 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, let's dive into something you'd mentioned previously, data transparency and collective analysis. What are some anticipations that you have for transparency between the two?
Yeah, I think data transparency and collective analysis are already being utilized as I mentioned, and the sharing the subscriptions and subscribing by the CPG brands will only increase because gaining that insight to their customer behavior and preferences is so important. In the future, I anticipate even a wider adoption of these services. I think I mentioned we're about 20% with the Luminate platform today, but I can see these services really expand, be a little bit more robust in terms of the platform and dashboard offerings. Also, this will strengthen relationships and strengthen sales relationships internally. And eventually, it just helps the consumer because you're able to offer a more personalized product. Think about it, everyone's Netflix or Amazon landing page, how it's different. It's almost just like that. Having the ability that every time you walk into your grocer, whether it be a Wegmans or a Whole Foods or a Weiss or any other one with a W, you're going to have that personal experience, right? Whether it be because of the ESLs that we talked about or the self-checkout that we talked about, or because they know when Kirat goes in, he wants to go in and grab something organic and something healthy and be out, or I might have just made that up to buy myself some kudos.
Well, you got it. So yeah, we talked a little bit about personalization, sustainability. I want to dive into that one if you don't mind. Let's talk a little bit about expectations in the next, again, 1 to 2 years, expectations for sustainability, how brands and grocers will really work together to meet consumers' growing demand for sustainable products and sustainable lifestyles.
Yeah, in a previous life, I was in the apparel industry. I was and sustainability is very important to me coming from that industry. And obviously now we're focusing on grocery for this report. Sustainability in terms of food waste and consumption, being of Indian origin, is extremely important to me. I mean, and I think, and I'm grateful for a lot of the technical advancements that we're facing or that are being, excuse me, facilitated by the CPG brands and the grocers, because they're really, really becoming more responsible. And I think they're doing it with a purpose. They're doing it to not only increase their margins, reduce their waste, but they're also doing it because it resonates with their customer. And I believe it's the right thing to do. So we talked about store monitoring, temperature controls, which all improve your sustainability scores and energy efficiency scores. But you're able to monitor humidity levels, inventory levels to enhance the food quality, right? Which eventually gives you a better experience as a customer. And I think the impact of this will be felt extensively throughout grocers. I see it. I see a lot of customers vote with their dollars when they see that the grocery store is being responsible and sustainable. We've seen it in apparel, we see it in beauty, and we're going to see it in grocers. And eventually, even when you talk about shipping, talk about sending groceries in recyclable bags or recyclable, when you do shipping, doing bulk shipping in recyclable boxes. I mean, all these things eventually offset your carbon emissions. And I wouldn't be surprised if, we're being very, very transparent with our carbon scores, our carbon emissions, at some time, socially or even online.
So we've covered the last, the next 1 to 2 years, how we think those relationships between grocers and CPG brands, and the data sharing between the two are going to really advance. And we don't have that crystal ball again. But what if we were to look 3 to 5 years down the road? What do you think may happen in that time frame?
Wow. So 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years, I think, looking ahead and beyond 3+ years, let's say that,
Yeah.
I think you can even see more, uh, you know, not only technical advancements, but cooperation, sharing, strengthening, and maybe even for some, disrupting of the relationships. There's only one thing that's certain, and that's change. So I think it's really important for companies to be nimble, agile, and adopt to the ever changing technology and landscape. Um, from a broader perspective, 3+ years or 3 to 5 years, I think the five technologies here that I would bet on are AI, ML, automation, robotics, blockchain, IoT, and the fifth one would be VR, AR. Many CPG and retailers and grocers have already started investing in these areas, but I think we're just in the early innings. And I think the key here is not the size of the company, of the war chest, or who can invest the more in this tech race. But I think it's about who's going to really innovate, who's going to implement the most efficient and effective strategies for their customers. Throughout the retail industry, we've seen numerous instances where the smaller, more agile, more innovative competitor has outmaneuvered incumbents. Think of Amazon overtaking Barnes and Nobles or Netflix overtaking Blockbuster. The key here is not solely to rely on your scale or your P&L, but to embrace the change, the innovation, and to adapt quickly, to meet your customers' demands and preferences. So I think the next 3 to 5 years will be very, very interesting, and it'll be interesting to see which innovations get adopted with speed and scale.
Yes, but I think you hit on something there. You mentioned putting the customer at the center of why you're innovating, your customer and perhaps even your employees. I think that's core to why the Netflix beat the blockbusters. They really met a customer need that needed to be met. So very insightful there. So we've covered the importance of trust throughout this report. We've taken a look at the most trusted grocery retailers and brands. We've also shared consumer survey data, really revealing that U.S. consumers believe that grocery retailers' profit margin is around 35%. This is about a 14 times distortion in perception from reality. So consumers have that belief, but in actuality, at the time that survey was conducted, I believe it was February of 2023, average profit margins were around 2.5%. So, how can pricing data, AI, and other technologies be used to inspire pricing strategies and to inspire trust from consumers, especially when we're looking at times like these of high inflation.
So consumers thought grocers were profiting 35%. Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's interesting because, you know, today pricing data, AI, deep learning, LLM, all these play a very crucial role in formatting pricing strategies. Uh, but there's a wide range of internal and external factors that need to be taken into effect. The internal inputs include things like product cost, inventory levels, store count, promotional calendar, markdown cadence, demand patterns, consumer preferences. External data points encompass things like your competitors' pricing, inflation, weather, traffic, seasonality, and all the in this dynamic sort of landscape. Merchants, pricing teams, they all rely on technology and algorithms to safeguard their profits, which, trust me, are not 35% in grocery, right?
Right.
Um, but they do that also while balancing a very delicate scale of continuously earning their customers' trust, who we mentioned earlier, vote with their wallets. So if you're automating a basic rule-based pricing strategy or elastic-based strategy or a personalized strategy in pricing, the key is to bring and build strong customer relationships and leverage those within the lines of technology. To place confidence within the customer, the merchants, use these technologies to continuously evolve, and we can anticipate even more innovative ways for grocers to effectively use a technology to protect their profits while cultivating the trust with the consumer.
So you mentioned having the team's trust when you're leveraging AI. How do you build your team's trust in algorithmic recommendations, which maybe, as you mentioned, they may include rule-based or elasticity-based demand pricing initiatives?
Yeah, Morgan, say that three times
Right.
fast.
That was
Yeah,
hard.
that's a great question. Establishing trust with the buying team in the algorithm recommendations requires a well-structured, multiple-step process. It's where I spend most of my time at Walmart. First off, it begins with transparent communication, and that starts at the leadership level, and that's for alignment purposes and allocating resources. After that, it should be handed over to the pricing team and the data scientists. They take over explaining to the merchants and the buying teams how the data is collected. What are the different internal and external sources that I kind of mentioned above and earlier? And how we're consolidating all of these different applications, data sources into a single trusted source, and then share with them how it's analyzed and then how we use that decision making process to generate pricing decisions. It's super important to keep the merchants involved throughout the entire process. The pricing team should be sharing as much information as possible um, throughout the planning, throughout the discovery process, and include the merchants, include the data scientists in redefining the pricing scenarios, whether it's data mapping, data requirements, and most importantly, for setting agreed upon benchmarks or metrics that would classify the pricing recommendations as a success. After the data is sorted, validated, and integrated, sometimes can take months, you're ready for business validation and testing of the AI price recommendations. And this should be done in controlled and clustered segments across different channels, departments, and locations. Again, with the buying team and merchants involved, right? You want to share with them how the recommendations are working, how in a tested environment. It's crucial at this point to start winning their trust because they're the ones who are going to be using the algorithms. They're the ones who are going to be logging on to the dashboards. And you need to share with them how you're outperforming the traditional pricing strategies. You know, at this point, you're still going to need some fine tuning. The model will never give you the right results right off the bat. And this iterative process is very important. Again, to use the buyers, use the merchants, rely on them for historical figures, historical sales data, and let them monitor this closely. That's super important to build the trust. While you're building the trust and the confidence within the pricing team and the merchant organization, it's imperative that you not only invoke, and engage the merchants every step of the way, but you create different loops. And what I mean by that is there needs to be feedback loops. So this is really important to make the merchants feel vested, that they own the P&L, and they have ownership of the process. And it's not the technology that's taking over. In addition to the feedback loop, I would add learning loops. You should have continuous processes and educational workshops for merchant training, for merchant upskilling and educating, so they are very comfortable with using the dashboards and the platforms, so they can set their limits, they can track their results, and most importantly, they can flag anything that they think is an outlier. And then I think finally, when you get there, you have your early adopters, your champions. It's super important to share their success. And this reminds me of a story, Paul Graham from Y Combinator, what he told Brian Chesky during the early days of Airbnb. He told him to focus on his small set of loyal customers versus, branching out and getting 1 million people to like Airbnb. He said, focus on the few customers that will love Airbnb. Similarly, the merchants who initially tested the AI recommendations, your champions, who eventually, you can build case studies and white papers showcasing how they trusted the technology, how they outperformed human decision making, how they beat historical levels, and reward them. Not only does this create a culture of trust and confidence within the organization, but they'll be your biggest cheerleaders to adopt the technology within the organization. And to your point, they'll get the rest of the merchant org on board to trust the price recommendations.
And I'm sure that we are going to be hearing from you more, especially as we continue to grow our global retail leaders community.